You're listening to Witch Wednesdays, your weekly podcast source for all things witchcraft in the modern world. Join your hosts, Steph and Tara, every Wednesday morning as they dive into a new witchy topic.
Welcome back to Witch Wednesdays. This is Steph.
And this is Tara.
And you are listening to episode 38 about the next sabbat on the Wheel of the Year, which is Mabon.
Woohoo! This is actually the last one before the wheel turns.
That is very true. As we've talked about before, Samhain is the next one, and that is considered the witch's new year. So Mabon is spelled M-A-B-O-N. So here in America, we pronounce it Mabon because we like that drawn out A sound.
We love it.
We love it, especially in the Midwest. But Europeans usually call it Mabon. So if you hear Mabon, that is also a correct pronunciation. It's just not how we like to say our A's here.
Nope. I'm Tara.
I'm very Chicago. I'm very Chicago with my A sounds. So Mabon is a Wiccan harvest festival, like they all are. We love this whole harvest season. And it's very similar to Lammas, that it is appreciative of the abundance, prosperity, the harvest, and it is essentially the equivalent of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
But it is celebrated on the autumnal equinox. So in the northern hemisphere, between the 21st and 23rd of September, and in the southern hemisphere, it's between March 21st and March 23rd.
Yep.
So that's right in the middle of the harvest cycle when the days and nights are equal in length.
This is also the time when the second main harvest comes in. So last Sabbath was like wheats and things of that nature. This is when apples, gourds, pumpkins, that kind of thing comes into season and starts getting harvested.
So according to modern tradition, Mabon is a Welsh deity that's considered to be the god of light and the son of the Earth Mother Modron. But in truth, there's absolutely no evidence that this particular Sabbath, unlike some of the other ones, was ever celebrated in history. It's most likely came about in the 1970s, actually. It's not very old at all. It's one of the ones that's a modern pagan invention, unlike some of the others that we have mentioned, like Yule has been around absolutely forever.
Yeah, ever and ever and ever.
And there's a lot of, historical aspects of the other Sabbaths that we've talked about. But this one is definitely a modern pagan invention, which is fine. We celebrate them all.
I was going to say, we celebrate them. I celebrate this one. I love this one. This is when you make cider.
Yes, I think because all of the other equinoxes are celebrated in some way, that this kind of was like, well, we can't forget the autumn one, so let's add this to the wheel too. I mean, it makes sense to me. But there's just no historical basis for it. But that's fine. We celebrate Witch Thanksgiving anyway.
Yes, we love it. And as yet another harvest fest that is centered around food, I quite enjoy it.
That's our favorite theme with all of these. I don't know. I mean, we will get into the correspondences and ways that you can celebrate. But Tara, are there any Wiccan specific history about this holiday, or is it again just the pagan Thanksgiving?
So this, as you may remember from other Sabbaths, the summertime is all about the goddess going from maiden to maturing. And so this is when the god, usually symbolized by the sun, is starting to make his exit. The maid is now becoming, she's no longer a maid. She's got all the, like I said, apples and pumpkins and everything's getting ready for harvest. So it's the theme of balance is a big thing here. It's when the god and goddess are pretty much perfectly aligned, but the god is making an exit And this is when it's considered one the middle or the second harvest festival, because this is when everything starts to come into season. So traditionally, it's a very, very busy time because you've been harvesting since the last Sabbath. You're harvesting through this one until basically the end of October, when the next final Sabbath is and the new year begins. So this was just kind of a nice little break to celebrate what you've already done. And so it is when the god and goddess, though, because the equal days and nights are really in balance before the god starts to make his exit and the sun becomes a lot less prominent in celebrations, at least here in North America.
Yes, definitely. We don't have Thanksgiving until November, but a lot of other countries, other traditions have some sort of celebration around this time, but none of them call it Mabon specifically.
And the reason we have Thanksgiving here in America so late is because all the harvest was in, and so they had time to actually sit and relax and make a big meal.
Very true.
Fun historical fact. It's not actually when Thanksgiving was. It was just when the harvest was done.
There are some other traditions around the world that correspond with this time period.
Yes.
There's Oktoberfest, of course. It is sort of based, there was a festival held in the fall to celebrate harvesting of grapes for wine in ancient Greece, and it was called Astrophoria. I think that's how you say it. And that in the 1700s kind of turned into Oktoberfest. Bavarians sort of changed that to have their Oktoberfest the last week of September for feasting, merriment, obviously beer. And in China, there's also a Mid-Autumn festival that is celebrated on the full moon and is a festival of honoring family unity. So there are a lot of fests at this time, even though Americans kind of push their traditional Thanksgiving to later. A lot of other cultures do celebrate this fall equinox. So
yes,
lots of ways to do it. So let's get into then things that we always talk about, which are the correspondences and the different ways that you can celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
The colors of Mabon should not be a surprise. They are orange, red, yellow, and brown.
Yes.
The animals are the fox, squirrel, owl, and wolf, which are also not a surprise. Those are very fall-related animals.
You'll see in nature these a lot because they're getting ready for winter. So, like, this is when squirrels start going nuts for nuts. They bury them everywhere.
Nuts for nuts.
They do. I don't get it.
That was a good one. I liked it.
I'm an adult. And so that's why you see these so often, why they're associated with this time of year, because this is when all the animals start to realize, hey, it's going to get cold soon. Should do something about that.
The crystals are amber, adventurine, citrine, and cat's eye. And those, again, are sort of this sunset colors. Citrine is definitely the color of the sun, but cat's eye and amber are kind of like a setting sun. You can think of that as being fall colored. The herbs are rosemary, sage, acorn, rosehip, and cinnamon. The flowers are marigold, sunflowers, and mums. So, of course, short list there because everything's starting to die out.
Mm-hmm.
The food, however, is plentiful.
Oh,
Corn,
all the food.
Corn, beans, squash, apples, pies, dried fruit, cornbread, wine, ale. Basically everything you associate with a traditional Thanksgiving meal other than the turkey.
Yes. And one thing, too, is if you make your own dried fruits, again, as I talked about with my teas earlier, this is a good time to eat all the rest of the dried fruits from last year because all the apples are coming in season, the figs, the ones that are really easy to dry out for next year. So fresh and dried fruits are very, very traditional, and I will share a recipe on how to make those delicious for a Mabon meal.
Sounds great to me.
It's really yummy.
The incense and oils are myrrh, sage, and clove. The deities are, like we said, Mabon, Hermes, the Green Man, Persephone, and Bacchus. Bacchus is the Roman god of
wine,
drinking.
The party.
Yes, party. He's a party god. And Persephone is also associated with this time. If you are familiar with Greek mythology, this is when Persephone was taken by Hades down to the underworld, and her mother Demeter grieved for her, but she had already eaten 6 pomegranate seeds, so she was doomed to spend 6 months in the underworld every year. So that is why we have the 6 months of fall and winter starting now. And then, she's allowed to come back in the spring. That's the Greek tradition with that.
Yes, and that's similar to, as I said, the god starts to withdraw more. That's tied in a lot with that same mythology, if you will. So that's kind of where that idea of the god withdrawing and the goddess withdrawing, so the land goes quiet and fertile because they're not as present in the world.
And the spells to work on at this time are divination work, blessings, protection, balance, harmony, and anything related to harvest.
This is also a really good time to get ready for the new year. I know a lot of witches at this time start thinking about things that they don't want to bring into the new year with them, relationships or spell work they need to redo, or just clear out that energy. We talked about how this is a good time for a house cleanse, so your house and home are ready for the new year coming up next.
Which takes us into how you can celebrate, because that's on the list. So how you can celebrate, always if you're in the broom closet, we recommend just wearing the colors of the season.
Always. Even if you're not in the broom closet, it's a fun, easy way to celebrate.
Tara's closet is a rainbow, so she loves it. You can decorate a Mabon altar, which we've talked about before how we don't have dedicated altar space. I don't necessarily want one. Tara is looking to make dedicated altar space.
I like
her
having
dog
one.
Can't reach.
Yep, but the dog is the issue. He eats everything.
So I do not have a dedicated altar space, but I do decorate my entire freaking house for Halloween, which is also a lot of Mabon and Samhain related decor all over the house. This is a very easy one to decorate for.
And she means literally, like, her house is already decorated by Mabon for Halloween. So just throwing it out there.
I start decorating for Halloween on August 1st, and I make no apologies about that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
We did have a listener question come up on Instagram about how early is too early to decorate or set up your altar. So let's get into that.
Never too early.
Exactly.
Never too early.
That's exactly what I responded. I said, if you ask me and Tara, it is never too early.
It's never too early.
So let's get into that a little bit. First of all, some Sabbats are going to call to you more than others.
Oh, this is very definitely true. Not everyone is drawn to every Sabbath equally. Even me, who loves doing special things for the Sabbaths, and I like how they're all different slightly and all of this, there's definitely ones that I celebrate a lot more than others.
And Tara does do something to recognize each one.
Yes.
I could not possibly tell you the last time I did anything to recognize Ostara. It doesn't call to me.
Yes, I do something for everyone, but I definitely do more for what I consider the ones I'm drawn more to. So like Beltane, it's all day, all night party. Like,
yes,
I do things for easily 24, 36 hours straight, like everything. For Mabon, I don't celebrate nearly as much or as drawn out, just because I'm not drawn to the holiday as much. Nothing wrong with that.
So it's going to be different for you. Only decorating your house and decorating your altar should only be a fun experience. It should not be a chore in any way. You're not bringing good energy to your space if you're thinking about it as like, oh man, I have to decorate for this Sabbath now too. Like, don't think of it that way. So you can never decorate too early. A lot of witches generally use the exact holiday as the midpoint in their altar. So if you're looking for kind of a guideline, say they set up 2 weeks before, they celebrate, they take it down 2 weeks later. So that the actual holiday is kind of like that midpoint of having the altar up. But you can obviously do it anyway. You can set up as early as you like. You can take it down whenever you like. It's all about what makes you happy.
Yep. And I usually decorate my altar the evening before I actually do my celebration. So it's all set up and it's not actually part of my celebration. That's also when I do my decorations and I get ready to do all my cooking. So.
Yes, and for me, I don't have any decor related to anything after Yule. I don't do, for pretty much from January until August 1st, I do no home decorating whatsoever related to any Sabbats or anything. And then August 1st, I start decorating for Halloween. And there is a lot of Mabon and Samhain associated decor within that, like a lot of, skulls and pumpkins and things like that. So that is and then I take that down in November and I set up for Yule. That's the only things that I do. So it's okay to have your favorites and only celebrate your favorites and decorate at that time. This should only be a fun experience.
Yes. If you are stressing so much about decorating your altar or your home in a specific manner, maybe take a step back, meditate on it, and see what's really important. Pick 3 things that you really feel connected to and only use those 3 things. It should not be super, super stressful because you're trying to get everything perfect. It should be an enjoyable experience, and it should just help you feel more in the mood, or more, it should like call to something in you, but don't feel pressured, because there are some beautiful decorations on Etsy and on Instagram and on Pinterest. Don't feel pressure because they decorate that you need to decorate like that.
Definitely not.
And this is coming from someone that decorates all the time. So just don't feel the pressure.
Moving on down our list, since we just spent like 20 minutes talking about altar decorations.
I mean,
other ways to celebrate, get out and enjoy nature. This is an actually good time for it. Someone coming from somebody who does not like the hot weather at all. I don't like going outside until Mabon, pretty much.
I love the hot weather, but I'm allergic to nature. So this is also a good time because most of the flowering has stopped and the pollen count is down. So if you have a bunch of allergies, it's a good time to enjoy that nature with.
Yes. Good time to just go out and notice all of the different colors. You can do things like apple picking or pumpkin picking. Those are very associated with this time of year and are a lot of fun.
They're a lot.
It is obviously a good time to bake breads and cakes. We already talked about that even before Lammas, but this whole season is bread and cake baking season. So enjoy.
This is the second of 3 where it's all about the bread, baking, food. I love it.
It is also a good time to finish off projects because, like we said, Samhain is the new year. So you want to get everything done and not sort of continue continue any of that, leave it hanging into the new year. You want to try to get everything wrapped up before October 31st.
Mm-hmm.
Also a good time to make a besom. If you had not, we recommended that at Lammas, but if you haven't made one yet, get out there and do it, because this is also, as we talked about last week, the perfect time for home cleansing, especially if you're going to use a besom. That's what Tara and I do. We do this every Mabon. So it's a perfect time to get all of that stagnant energy and those old or negative spirits out of your house and get it all ready for the new year.
Yes. So your house is ready and clean and ready to go when the new year rolls around. I feel like that just starts the new year off right. So that's why I do this every Mabon.
I think so too. And it's a good time to get all of that sort of old stagnant energy out, because Samhain is, as a new year, it's not like what you think of as when we celebrate January 1st as New Year, of everybody, getting drunk at midnight. Samhain's kind of a somber holiday. Of all the Sabbats that we have, a lot of them, like Beltane, is pure fun. Like pure party and bonfire, dancing, music. Samhain is generally a more somber holiday. You can we'll get into that, but it's a lot of, ancestor work and dead dinners that are like completely in silence and things like that. So it's not like the same party as the New Year. So using this time to sort of move out the energy and get a clear space to like be quiet and still for Samhain, this is a great time to do that.
I completely agree.
And I think that is everything that we have on our list that we wanted to talk about for Mabon.
I believe so.
Okay, excellent.
I'm like starting to think like,
That is everything we wanted to mention. Like we've mentioned in the last couple of episodes, we have a website now, witchwednesdays.com, and we also set up our Patreon. So there are Mabon related things up on our Patreon account as of today. So definitely go check those out if you want to get some ideas for recipes and spell work and things like that. We hope you will subscribe. And
you guys, I even put something up for you. You're welcome.
Yeah. Look at Tara go.
It took a lot of nagging from Steph, but I totally did it with her help because I couldn't figure it out myself. But I made it, and then she helped me put it up.
She's doing good, guys.
I'm trying.
But that is all we have for you this week. So we will see you next week for spell troubleshooting.
Yep.
Should be a good one.
It will be a good one.
See you then. Bye.
Bye. Follow us on Insta.
Thanks for listening to Witch Wednesdays with Steph and Tara. Love our content? Consider donating at anchor.fm/witch-wednesdays to help keep our podcast up and running. Please leave us a voicemail on that same site if you have any questions or comments, and follow us on Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast.